morning. It's a beautiful Sunday morning here in Lexington, Kentucky. And I thought I would jump on here and do a quick live thing. I seem to be okay with doing solo live things. I haven't really mastered doing the interview process live, and I'm working on learning this technology stuff. But I had a couple questions this week. I've had a lot of good feedback on some of the stuff I've been putting out, and I really appreciate that. So move this microphone a little closer so you can get a little better volume on that. But Robert wrote in, and his question was he was having some knee pain in his right knee while squatting when he goes over 315. So anything before 315, he doesn't have any pain, but as soon as he goes over 315, he has pain. And the first thing I would say is, one, I'm not a health professional, so I would seek out a physical therapist who has some experience working with athletes. Because if you don't work with a PT, if you work with a PT that specializes in general population, they're just going to say, well, you don't need to be squatting. So you need to find somebody who works with athletes, and they're going to have a little bit better understanding of what you can and can't do and how to work around injuries and how to, get things going in the right direction. The first thing I'll say is, if you can squat pain-free up to 315, then you need to spend more time squatting under 315. The body kind of works, and there's so many aspects of pain, from stress to, it's crazy how complicated pain really is. It's more than just structure. It's more than just there's a lot of factors. So I got kind of stuck there. But one of the things that's probably a factor, if you unrack the bar and you step back and you look down at your feet, you're probably going to notice that your right toe is slightly turned out more than your left foot. Okay. And we have a tendency to get stuck in this what we call a right stance. This is a rabbit hole that you can go down that you might never ever come out again. So I'm going to keep this as simple as you can. So if you turn that right foot in just a hair, and a really smart guy named Eric Otter kind of observed this with me, because I was, I'm still very, very stuck in a right pattern, so to speak. If you turn that right foot in just a little bit and you focus on driving off that right foot, it's going to kind of square your hips up, and it's going to allow your knee and everything to track a little bit better. So that might help. I will link an article that I wrote for Robb years ago on his blog called Voodoo Witchcraft and Diaphragmatic Breathing at some sort of point. But you got to get your pelvis and your rib cage in a better position so you're a canister. Okay. So a lot of people that have, a lifting background like myself, or they tend to do this arching thing, right? And the arch, it works. I mean, you jam your spine, you compress your spine to get stability, and it's a strategy. It's a good, it's a good strategy, especially if you're running, if you have to lift something really, really heavy and your life depends on it, or you're running from somebody with a machete, jam that spine into extension and get the hell out of there. But what it does do is, when you tip that pelvis forward by compressing your spine forward, you don't have access to your full hip socket. So when you get down to the bottom, you start doing some real funky things to try and get depth, and that can cause some issues too. So you want to make sure that you might have to take some weight off the bar for a while. You might have to do some things that teach you how to squat more with that canister, and teach you how to expand circumferentially. The article will explain that. And then you're going to have to learn how to keep that brace on, so that your pelvis is in a better position, so that you have more access to your hips. And then squatting becomes, much easier. And I would also focus on turning the squat into a leg press. So pushing down through the floor as much as you can. So if you get that canister, work on getting your middle position better, and then turn that right toe in just a tiny bit, and focus on, having that pressure 360 as you descend, having that pressure 360 as you come up, but you're driving off that right leg, so it kind of squares your hips up a little bit. And I think that might help you. But once again, I would recommend going to a PT. I forgot to mention in the beginning yesterday, I had a group of ladies compete at the Kentucky USA Powerlifting Kentucky meet in Somerset, which was a lot of fun. I had 2 new girls that had never competed before, and 2 veterans, and it was really a fun time. We added 3 girls to the 300-pound deadlift club of girls that have pulled over 300 at a powerlifting meet, which is pretty cool. The one girl had never lifted weights before, and she first came to us. She was having some back issues, and so we've been able to clean that all up, and she had a really, really good day. And the other girl, Stash, who you've seen some videos on here, had an incredible day. And Heather and Rebecca both had 2 incredible deadlifts. And the neat thing about those 2 ladies is when they came to me, actually all of them really, Stash had a little bit of kettlebell experience, but none of them had any serious weightlifting experience or aspirations. And Heather and Rebecca especially are not what we'd call built to powerlift, but yet they're deadlifting over 300 pounds and squatting over 200 pounds with good form, and it's really neat to see that. We have a lot of fun with it, and I enjoy doing it. So the next question is about what I call the stress bathtub, and this is kind of a way I've used to explain to people that are struggling with either with myself, like from some of the people that I learned from when I was trying to, when I learned how to manage my ulcerative colitis. People would use the stress bathtub, and with the new knowledge that I've gained in the past few years, I would use redox potential. I would use that instead, but we won't go into that. When your redox potential gets too low, that's when bad things happen. When your stress bathtub overflows, that's when bad things happen. But the cool thing is if you focus on the things that'll empty your stress bathtub, your redox will improve. So it's just a different terminology and a different way of looking at things, but we'll focus on the stress bathtub. And that way it's a little easier for people to understand than redox potential. But so basically you have this bathtub or the stress bucket, and it could be relationship stuff, stress, work, not sleeping enough, eating foods that don't like you, not getting enough sun, low vitamin D levels, stress, all these things fill your bathtub up. And if you've ever had a bathtub that gets to the top, it kind of bubbles over a little bit. And then all it takes is that one drop of water to spill it over. If you look at people that get like things like ulcerative colitis or something along those lines, a lot of times a car accident or something like that, or a death in the family will trigger that. So, in order to manage things, you've got to focus on things that empty your stress bathtub, and meditation, walking outside, getting massage, acupuncture, good nutrition, lots of water. These are all things that'll empty that bathtub and buy you some forgiveness. Another thing, there's 2 things that can fill your stress bathtub, and one of them is, exercise can fill and it can empty it. So if you're in a bad place and you're under a ton of stress, or you're going through a divorce, or you just had a death in the family, like, it's not a time to go in and beat the hell out of yourself in the gym. It's a time to go for walks. It's a time to do Tai Chi. Or if you've been beating yourself to death in the gym, you might, and sometimes you do that on purpose. There are times, and there's a time and place to really push it hard, and then you need to back off, and then we call super compensation. But, there's a time and place for everything, and figuring out what you need. If you've got multiple autoimmune diseases, or you're struggling with depression or certain things, a really hard workout in the short term might make you feel better. But what if you feel like shit for days and days and days after it? Like, you can't get out of bed, or you're depressed, or you feel like crap. You might need to do what we call working in for a while. And it's all about picking the right tool for the job at the right time. Like, if I have a nail, I need a hammer. If there's a mosquito in my kitchen, I need a fly swatter. I'm not going to use a hand grenade for a mosquito. It'll work, definitely, for sure, but you're going to destroy your entire kitchen or house. So a lot of times people just are not picking the right tool for the job, and you've kind of got to pick the exercise regimen that you need for what you have to fix, right? So that's kind of a interesting way of looking at things. And the next question was from a coach, and he was struggling to get a lot of his athletes to gain weight. And so, this is a performance question. And, normally I don't like, because I work with a lot of women, and I don't like people to drink a lot of their calories, especially for women, because the more calories you drink, it really doesn't shut your appetite off like eating, like steak or fish or something that has fat and protein in it. That's going to kind of slow your appetite down a little bit. It's going to make you feel full. Whereas drinking your calories is going to basically, it's not going to fill you up as much, and you're going to want to eat more. But in the case of somebody who's trying to gain weight, you want to up your calories. And so, that's what I would recommend. But just make sure you don't get, some of these protein weight gain powders are just crazy with the amount of crap they have in them. So I would focus on, beef isolates, whey isolates, goat. A lot of people handle goat whey really well. And then, you can add things to that, but I would switch your powders up, every so often, so that you're basically, giving something different, because you're not doing the same thing all the time. But that would be a way I would get extra calories. You can do, I would still eat, 3 good meals a day, and then add maybe shakes in after workouts, that sort of thing. That's a really good way to do that. And then in your training, you're going to want to add, not only focus on depending on who the athlete is, but not only focus on, having them move well, but also adding some bodybuilder type stuff in there. Like West Side for Skinny Bastards, like Joe DeFranco is a great template for that. And you can manipulate the exercises however you want. Like I use a lot of front squats, a lot of safety squat bar stuff. And you can manipulate the exercises and the accessory exercises to suit the needs of the athlete, but the template is good. It's got a lot of, body, you can add a lot of bodybuilder stuff in there. And that's really how you're going to gain, hypertrophy is by adding some bodybuilder stuff in there, but also having explosive throws and jumps. So you don't just create this big, muscular monster that can't move. We got some dog action going on next to your door, but, you've got to, that's why like powerlifters don't, play in the NFL, is because they're stiff and rigid and super strong, but they don't move well. So, you've got to develop an all-around athlete depending on who you're working. If you're working with a powerlifter and they're trying to put on weight, then you don't have to worry so much about them being able to move well enough. You have to make them move well enough so that they can stay healthy. They don't have to worry about running around on a football field or anything like that. So, but that's one of the few times I'll actually recommend using a supplement or a protein powder, is when kids are trying to gain weight. But you also got to look at the age of the kid too. I'm not a big fan of people that force themselves to lose weight or force themselves to gain weight. The body's pretty smart, and if you're trying to make the body do something it doesn't want to do, it's probably not going to end well in the long run. Kids will just put on muscle like crazy, as long as you don't force it too much. And I've seen kids put on 25, 30 pounds in the summer, just by adding breakfast. And so keep it as simple as possible, keep it sustainable. And that's that. So there's my little Q&A. If you have any more questions, feel free to add them below here. I appreciate the feedback I've gotten and the support. I'm new to this stuff, so I'm going to try and keep putting out more content, and your questions definitely help. There'll be links to all sorts of good stuff down there in the YouTube. There'll be links to the article from Robb Wolf, and some other things I might find that might help with that. But that's the bottom line, So if you're having pain on an exercise, regress that exercise so you don't have pain. That's one thing you need to remember. And then, work on keeping your stress bathtub half empty so you have some forgiveness. So if you do something or have something happen to you, it doesn't spill the bathtub over. And then, use hypertrophy and a little bit of protein powder supplementation to help, gain some muscle mass for skinny guys. So thanks for watching. Have yourself a wonderful day. Get your ass outside and don't be a zoo animal.